Dr. Simon Wexler stood on the rooftop of his cluttered lab, squinting up at the sky like a mad scientist in a low-budget sci-fi movie. Today, the sun shone brightly, glinting off his ridiculous new invention, the Sunflinger 3000. He had been testing it for weeks, and as usual, it wasn't going well. Instead of launching solar energy into the stratosphere, it sputtered and coughed like an old lawnmower. Just a little bit more juice. Simon muttered, tweaking the knobs with exaggerated enthusiasm. Come on, Sunflinger. Make America proud. At that moment, the device let out a mighty pop, shooting a burst of colorful confetti high into the air. Down below, a crowd gathered, their faces lighting up with confusion and amusement. Simon beamed, thrilled by the unintended spectacle, and launched into his best dad joke, "Well, I guess it's a party now. Who's got the cake?" As laughter rippled through the crowd, Simon's assistant Mia rolled her eyes. "This isn't a birthday party, Simon. It's the apocalypse." She adjusted her glasses, glancing nervously at the dark clouds gathering in the distance. Apocalypse? More like a cloudy day. Just think of it as nature's way of keeping things interesting, Simon replied with a grin, but the tension in the air was palpable. Night was coming, and with it, the creatures of darkness. Simon had seen them only a few nights before, glowing eyes peering from the shadows, claws that glinted in the moonlight. The aliens had come, emerging from the dark, hungry for chaos. When the sun dipped below the horizon, everything changed. The bright, bustling city morphed into a sinister playground for those creatures. The air filled with a chilling silence, punctuated by the distant sounds of panic. Simon and his team, however, had a plan. They were going to fight back with science, back in the lab, surrounded by the remnants of failed experiments and a questionable number of energy drinks. Simon gathered his team, Mia, with her sharp tongue and sharper intellect, Carl, the conspiracy theorist who believed the aliens were merely government experiments gone wrong, and Raj, the overly eager intern who could barely contain his enthusiasm. "We need to prolong daylight," Simon announced dramatically, pacing back and forth like a general preparing for battle. "If we can create a device to reflect sunlight, we might just stand a chance. Or we could just, avoid going outside after dark," Carl suggested, clutching a tinfoil hat as if it were a lifeline. "Where's the fun in that?" Mia shot back, smirking. As they brainstormed, the ideas ranged from the ludicrous to the impossible. "What about giant mirrors?" Raj proposed, his eyes wide with excitement. "We could reflect the sun's rays all the way into the night." Simon stopped mid-pace, his eyebrows shooting up. "That might just work. We'll need materials, lots of them. And we'll need to set it up before night falls again." "Don't worry, I'll grab a truck," Raj said, sprinting out the door. As the team raced to gather supplies, they couldn't help but bicker. Mia tossed a roll of reflective foil at Carl, who dodged it, shouting, "Watch it. This isn't a game of dodgeball." "Sure feels like it," Mia retorted, grinning. The day flew by, and as the sun began to set, they rushed to assemble their contraption. The makeshift satellite, a hodgepodge of mirrors and solar panels, stood tall in the city square, glistening in the fading light. "Ready or not, here comes the night," Simon declared, flicking a switch. The device sputtered and whirred, sending beams of light shooting into the sky. For a moment, it seemed to work, until the alien creatures appeared. They emerged from the shadows like a scene from a horror movie, their grotesque forms illuminated by the beams of light. The first few aliens hesitated, caught in the glow, but then they rallied, growling and rushing toward the team. Guys? I think we might have made them mad. Raj squeaked, eyes wide with terror. Plan B. Simon shouted, grabbing whatever improvised weapons he could find. We'll hold them off. The night erupted into chaos. The team fought valiantly, using everything from reflective shields to canned goods. Amid the turmoil, Simon accidentally activated the disco mode on the satellite, turning the night into a bizarre rave of light and sound. As colorful lights flashed, the aliens momentarily halted, their eyes wide. The creatures began to sway, hypnotized by the rhythmic beats of their own impending doom. It was the most absurd dance-off imaginable, the aliens bobbing their heads to techno while the team fought back against their instincts to laugh. Are they dancing? Mia asked incredulously. Looks like it. Keep it up. Simon yelled, realizing the bizarre turn of events was their opportunity. The aliens became distracted, lost in the lights and sounds, giving the team precious moments to regroup. With renewed determination, Simon and his crew utilized their makeshift defenses, forcing the aliens back into the shadows. The chaos culminated in a last-ditch effort. A brilliant beam of light shot straight up into the sky, illuminating everything around them. The aliens, now thoroughly confused and overwhelmed, retreated into the dark corners of the city, leaving behind only echoes of their eerie growls. As dawn broke, the team stood panting in the morning light, the remnants of their chaotic battle strewn around them. Did we just win? Raj asked, blinking in disbelief. Looks like it, Simon replied, looking around at the debris and the glittering remnants of confetti. Who knew aliens could be such terrible dancers? Mia quipped, wiping sweat from her brow. Next time, we'll bring disco balls to the fight, Carl said, still clutching his tinfoil hat, which had somehow become slightly more fashionable amidst the chaos. As the city awoke, people began to emerge from their homes, eyes wide with disbelief at the bizarre spectacle of lights and sounds from the night before. The group celebrated their victory, sharing jokes and laughter as the sun rose high in the sky, but Simon couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. They had pushed back the darkness, but the aliens were still out there, lurking in the shadows. Let's get back to work, he said, determination in his voice. We need to make sure this doesn't happen again. And I want a plan that involves less disco next time. But I thought we were the life of the party. Raj exclaimed, laughing as he helped clear the remnants of their makeshift lab. As they prepared for the challenges ahead, Simon cracked a smile, thinking about the strange turn of events. They had faced down the darkness with humor, ingenuity, and a little bit of disco. Okay, team, he said, rallying them. Let's make sure we're ready for whatever comes next. And remember, if the night tries to take over again, we'll just shine brighter. The morning light poured over the city, and with it came a sense of hope. They had faced the night, and though it would return, they would be ready. And maybe, just maybe, they could teach the aliens a thing or two about having a good time. Simon gathered his team around the remnants of their chaotic battlefield, which now looked more like a festival gone wrong than a scene of impending doom. As the sun climbed higher, the city began to wake up, the streets filling with curious onlookers, many of whom were still trying to piece together the bizarre events of the night before. What's the plan now? Mia asked, adjusting her glasses and surveying the crowd. Simon rubbed his chin thoughtfully. We need to ensure our defenses are stronger. Last night was a fluke, an outrageous, hilarious fluke, but we can't rely on disco magic forever. Raj chimed in, his enthusiasm bubbling over. How about we build a bigger satellite? something with even more mirrors. Carl, ever the skeptic, raised an eyebrow. Or we could just stick to a solid plan for once. Like, I don't know, fortifying the city? Because I have a feeling those aliens are just regrouping, probably plotting their comeback. Simon chuckled. You might be right, Carl. We need to blend both ideas. We'll enhance our light-reflecting tech while fortifying the city. And, if we have to, we can always throw a dance party as a last resort. With that, they got to work, each member diving into their strengths. Raj bounced between gathering supplies and sketching designs for the new satellite, fueled by endless optimism. Mia dove into research, poring over scientific journals and alien biology theories, while Carl started developing a series of makeshift barricades using whatever he could scavenge. As the day wore on, the team's energy never waned. They set up a command center in Simon's lab, which quickly became a chaotic hub of activity. Charts and diagrams of the aliens were plastered on the walls, and half-finished prototypes of their new device cluttered every available surface. What if we could harness solar energy during the day and store it for the night? Mia suggested, her eyes sparkling with inspiration. We could use that stored energy to create a much more powerful light source when it gets dark. Simon nodded, the wheels in his mind turning. That's brilliant, Mia. If we can manage to create a powerful enough beam, we could push the aliens back into the shadows for good. As night approached again, a nervous energy filled the air. They worked feverishly to finalize their plans, adrenaline surging as the sun began its descent. The shadows crept back into the city, wrapping the streets in their familiar embrace. Simon glanced at the clock, then back at his team. Okay, folks, it's showtime. Everyone in position? Mia adjusted her hair, her eyes scanning the darkening sky. Ready as I'll ever be. Raj held a flashlight high, the beam cutting through the growing darkness. Let's light this place up. They activated the new device, a contraption that looked like something straight out of a sci-fi comic. It whirred to life, sending a beam of light shooting high into the air. The glow pulsed with energy, illuminating the area around them. For a moment, all seemed still. Then, from the darkness, glowing eyes appeared, piercing through the night like beacons of doom. The aliens had returned. Here we go. Simon shouted, and the team braced themselves for the onslaught. The first wave of creatures surged toward them, and the beam of light intensified, casting the aliens in a stark spotlight. Their movements faltered, but they quickly adapted, darting to the sides and coming at the team from multiple angles. Focus the beam. Simon shouted, gesturing for Mia to adjust the angle. Got it. She leaned over the controls, her fingers dancing over the switches. The light shifted, sweeping across the approaching horde. The aliens shrieked, caught in the powerful illumination. Some recoiled, their glowing eyes flickering, while others charged forward with renewed ferocity. The team fought back with whatever they could muster. Raj wielded a makeshift slingshot filled with reflective foil. Carl threw the makeshift barricades into the path of the aliens, while Simon kept adjusting the light, trying to outmaneuver the creatures. The chaos escalated. Simon found himself laughing despite the madness, his adrenaline pushing him into a state of absurdity. Who knew alien hunting could be this much fun? But the creatures were relentless. They surged forward in waves, testing the limits of the light and the team's resolve. Just as Simon felt the tide beginning to turn against them, he noticed something peculiar. The aliens were clustering together, drawn to the light but also fighting amongst themselves, as if they were trying to assert dominance. Wait a second, he mused aloud. What if they're not just fighting us? What if they're also competing against each other? Mia looked up, comprehension dawning. You mean, they're territorial? Exactly. If we can exploit that, we might be able to drive them away for good. Let's give them a reason to fight each other, Raj suggested, his eyes lighting up with mischief. We could increase the light intensity in bursts. Make it look like we're targeting them. Let's do it. Simon ordered, and Mia began to manipulate the controls, sending out pulsing bursts of light. The aliens shrieked, some turning on their fellow creatures, swiping at each other with claws and snapping jaws. The once unified front of the alien army began to splinter, and Simon's heart raced as he saw their chance. Keep it up, Mia. Don't let up, he yelled, excitement surging through him. With each pulse of light, the aliens grew more chaotic. Some tried to escape the beams, while others lashed out at those closest to them. The night became a cacophony of shrieks and growls, with beams of light cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the remaining aliens, disoriented and frustrated, began to retreat into the shadows. The last remnants of their eerie glow faded into the night, leaving the team panting and exhilarated. We did it! Raj shouted, jumping up and down. We actually did it! Simon laughed, disbelief washing over him. We actually did! The night belongs to us. As dawn broke once more, the team surveyed their surroundings. The makeshift battlefield was a mess, but it was also a testament to their determination. They had fought off the darkness, and for now, the city was safe. Let's clean up and then celebrate. Mia suggested, a triumphant smile on her face. Agreed. Simon said, already planning the victory party in his mind. We've earned it. As they began to clear the remnants of their battle, Simon couldn't shake the feeling that this victory was just a step in a much larger battle. He looked at his team, at the determination shining in their eyes, and knew they would face whatever came next together. And as the sun rose high above the city, the shadows retreated, and the laughter of friends echoed through the streets, a reminder that even in the darkest times, light and humor could conquer the night. In the weeks that followed, the city began to change. People banded together, reinforcing their homes and businesses, sharing stories of the night of chaos and triumph. The local news ran segments on the alien dance-off, and Simon's team became somewhat of local celebrities, their antics and ingenuity celebrated by everyone from children to the mayor. Simon, Mia, Raj, and Carl worked tirelessly, improving their technology and brainstorming new ways to ensure safety. They built a community watch system, using the technology they had developed to create a network of light sources throughout the city, keeping the darkness at bay. But even as they fortified their defenses, Simon remained vigilant. The aliens had retreated, yes, but they were still out there, lurking in the shadows. One evening, as he sat in the lab poring over notes, he found himself lost in thought. "What's up, Doc?" Mia teased, peeking into his office. "Just thinking about the future," he replied, rubbing his temples. "We've won battles, but I can't shake the feeling that this war isn't over." "Always the optimist," she said with a grin. "Maybe they'll get the message. You know, that we're not the easy targets they thought we were. Or maybe they'll just be back with reinforcements," he replied, unable to hide his concern. "Then we'll just have to be ready. We're a team, remember?" "Yeah," Simon said, a smile creeping onto his face. "And we've got disco moves if it comes to that." Laughter bubbled between them, a reminder of their strength. The days turned into weeks, and while life in the city returned to some semblance of normalcy, Simon kept his eye on the skies. Then one evening, as twilight settled in, a flicker of movement caught his attention. He rushed outside, heart pounding, and looked up at the stars. "Guys, come quick," he shouted, panic rising in his voice. Mia, Raj, and Carl dashed out of the lab, eyes wide with confusion. "What is it?" Mia asked, squinting up at the darkening sky. "There." Simon pointed. A small, dark shape zipped across the horizon, silhouetted against the twilight. It moved fast, almost too fast to be a plane. "What is that?" Raj breathed, fear creeping into his voice. Before Simon could answer, the shape turned, revealing a trail of shimmering light behind it. It spiraled and twisted, and as it did, a chorus of alien cries echoed in the air, unmistakably familiar. "Looks like the party's not over yet," Carl said, his voice tinged with dread. The darkness was returning, but this time, Simon felt a surge of determination. They had faced the night once before, and they could do it again. "Let's get to work," he said, turning back toward the lab. "We've got some planning to do." As the first stars twinkled in the sky, Simon and his team prepared for the next chapter of their battle against the darkness, ready to shine brighter than ever before.